You know who has to be the most dumbfounded guy in America right now, right today as we speak? It'd be Denny Hastert, the former Republican Speaker of the House. The guy's out there saying, what in the world was I doing paying blackmail? Hell, I should have done a reality TV show about all this. I'd be in Fat City. Greetings, my friends, and welcome. It's great to have you here on the EIB network, Rush Limbaugh. As we plod on, folks. We're just trudging through it out there, making sense as best we can at each and every juncture. Telephone number, if you want to be on the program, is 800-282-2882. And the email address, lrushbo@eibnet.com. Okay, we're going to get to this Kaitlyn Jenner business in just a second. There's some other stuff out there going on that I want to get to. But I don't want anybody to think I'm relegating Kaitlyn Jenner to secondary or tertiary status here. It's the dominant thing, and it's what everybody else is talking about. And I know until you've heard what I think about it, you really don't know what you think about it. I'm just not crazy about getting into it right now. I do think it's important for people of a certain age. Oh, sorry for the interruption, but it's no big deal since I'm interrupting myself. One little thing I want to run by you here regarding Kaitlyn Jenner. I'm not going to tell you where this comes from because I don't want, other than to tell you it's a Republican blog. Well, yeah, it is. Conservative Republican blog. I just want to run this by you. And you tell yourself what you think. With the momentum from this announcement and affiliation, Kaitlyn Jenner inadvertently gave the Republican Party something it desperately needs more of: street cred. Simply put, Kaitlyn Jenner gives the Republican Party a sense of humanity. Because Bruce Jenner came out as a Republican back in, March or April? And we assume that since Bruce Jenner has become Kaitlyn Jenner, that she's still a Republican. By the way, did you see that? Snerdley, you're the one. You told me that you saw the picture of Kaitlyn Jenner on what's it, Vanity Fair. I guess looks just like Jessica Lange. Yeah, everybody's picked that up. Everybody's. In fact, it's gotten such wide play. They went out and asked Jessica Lange what she thinks about it. And she said, where's this being said? And they said, you're trending on Twitter. She said, what's Twitter? She had never heard of Twitter, and she didn't obviously know what trending on Twitter was. They explained to her that you are being compared, or Kaitlyn Jenner's being compared to a younger version of you, that Kaitlyn Jenner was just like you and is beautiful. And she says she was flattered. She was really, really flattered to have that comparison made. So you, Snerdley, you're in the mainstream on this. You saw that picture, you immediately thought of Jessica Lange, and I guess a lot of people did. Anyway, back to this little passage from the, as of now, unnamed Republican conservative blog, starting again. With the momentum from this announcement and affiliation, Kaitlyn Jenner inadvertently gave the Republican Party something it really needs more of: street cred, an understanding sense of humanity. If the Republican Party overall was to warm up to these differences and use them as a broader tool to crush problems, not people, problems that really matter, like insurmountable national and student debt, ever-increasing national security threats, and domestic encroachments on constitutional liberties, Democrats would stand no chance. The passage here, what this means is that Kaitlyn Jenner, as a Republican, proves to people that the Republican Party is a party that loves humanity, has now acquired and achieved street cred. And if the Republican Party could do more of this, warm up to these differences and use them as a broader tool to crush problems, not people, because as you know, what the Republican Party does is crush people. But if the Republican Party could take this endorsement by Kaitlyn Jenner and use it to illustrate they don't crush people, that they are human after all, that they instead will crush problems, the Democrats wouldn't stand a chance. that is a conservative Republican blog. Greetings and welcome back. Rush Limbaugh, great to have you here, the EIB Network and the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies. Ladies and a couple other things here before we get into the Kaitlyn Jenner stuff. I'm also wondering, how many millennials actually know who Bruce Jenner is? I wonder how many people actually know. Maybe some do. Maybe it's been written about. I'm talking about his 1976 Olympics dominance, the decathlete. When at that point in time, winning the decathlon made you the world's greatest athlete. And he won it going away. It was huge. Bruce Jenner, achieved legitimate fame for serious accomplishments. None of this Kardashian-type fame that he's been surrounded by, which has to be a factor in some of this. I mean, it just does. But some of the athletic achievements that Bruce Jenner accomplished are just unparalleled. And he was bigger than Muhammad Ali back in 1976, folks. He was that big. He was wholesome, Mr. All-American, waving the American flag with him on the track. I'll never forget all of the, back, and they still do it when they telecast the Olympics. ABC had them back then, and they did all these feature profiles of all the athletes that they would tape and prepare months in advance of the actual Olympics themselves. And I remember every one of them about Bruce Jenner. Every one of them. I remember the particularly one in which the update the update followed him on an average training day. Everything he put himself through in preparation for the Olympics. And this particular feature started in the darkness of his bedroom with the alarm clock going off at 4:30. And they simulated it. But the alarm clock went off at 4:30, snaps right out of bed, down some Wheaties or something, and started on the training and preparation regimen. And it was grueling. It was brutal. And I remember 1976, we're 4 years out of Watergate. There's a national funk that's going on. The Olympics that year were in Montreal. And Bruce Jenner, we were just on the outskirts of electing Jimmy Carter, and it was going to get even worse. For that brief moment, that 2-week period during the Olympics, Bruce Jenner had people in this country prouder to be Americans than they had been in years. And I just wonder how many people know that about him as opposed to what they know now. Now you've got this obviously Photoshop, doctored, touched up cover photo on Vanity Fair. And I'll tell you, folks, I don't know if you'll remember this. I have to find this from the archives. It was this year, though. There was a story that we found, and I thought it was going to get much bigger play than it did. And now that I look back on it, I guess I was mistaken in assuming that it would get big play. The kind of play I thought it would get would be that the expert quoted in the story I thought would be destroyed. He's a ranking neurologist or psychiatrist or psychology, some noted expert in the field of mental health at Johns Hopkins. I can't remember his name right off the bat. And he's in his 60s, if I remember right. And it was a story about transgenderism. And this noted professor and scientist and doctor at Johns Hopkins was lamenting what culture is doing to transgender people. It was his claim. He just came right out and said it, that we're dealing with mental illness here. We should not be celebrating this. We should not be lionizing this. We should not be encouraging this. These people have a very serious problem, and they need treatment. They need help. Not encouragement. I read the story and I shared it with you here on the program. And it was, I'll tell you what prompted it was my observation that the next push point for the left was going to be transgender people because the gay rights movement had shown such success, had borne such fruit. Gay marriage, now accepted, it seems, coast to coast, north to south, that the gay rights issue is basically no longer a big fight. The millennial generation particularly embraces gay rights, and so it's not really a big deal. But the people involved have to have a fight. They have to have a demon. They have to have something they're pushing against. And so transgender people became the new gay people. Now, transgenders are even a smaller percentage of the population than homosexuals are. The homosexual population in the country is 2%, at most. And not all of them are activists. You know, not all of them are politically active. Not all of them get involved in public demonstrations or any of that. The transgender population is even smaller than that. And so it became the new push point, if you will, against the so-called dominant culture, or what we now know is an attack on mainstream Christianity. And somebody in the drive-bys, I even forget the source for this, but I'm going to find it somewhere in my archives because I talked about it. Somebody in drive-bys went and found this guy at Johns Hopkins to say that it's a mental illness, that we need not be encouraging this, certainly not celebrating it because it's a sickness and these people really, really need help. And I thought that this guy would be destroyed. Turns out this guy was ignored. The story didn't get any traction anywhere. But the guy, the scientist at Johns Hopkins, is still there, and he still believes all of this stuff. And so it's fascinating to watch what's happening to our culture, what's happening to our society. And it's, for me, mixed emotions about it, obviously. I remain fascinated by trying to find the tipping point. Maybe that's not the best description. I try to go back in our history, our cultural history, and okay, when did this get legs? When did this start being taken seriously? When did this actually, because none of this stuff happens overnight. The idea that transgenderism is normal and, in fact, wonderful, something to be celebrated, is not something that just popped up overnight. It's been building, as was the gay rights movement and so forth. We have a better handle on where that began. I guess you could say it began when transgenders began to be lumped in with lesbians and gays, as in LGBT, and became part of the group, and they are part of the left, and they are well-funded, and they're wealthy, many of them are. And, of course, donate to Democrat candidates and issues, so that's where its home is, and as such, it'll be given favorable treatment in the media, and it just grows, and it kind of just creeps up on people, or crept up on people, and by the time it reaches critical mass, it's for people that oppose it or are bothered by it. It's too late. It's already, tentacles are already well hooked into mainstream culture, and you just, okay, move on to the next one, and it just keeps happening this way. But that's what fascinates me about this. But we'll find this Johns Hopkins guy. Who was it? It's Dr. McHugh. That's who it is. His name is Paul McHugh. And he is the former psychiatrist in chief for Johns Hopkins Hospital, and it is its current distinguished service professor of psychiatry, said that transgenderism is a mental disorder that merits treatment, that sex change is biologically impossible, and that people who promote sexual reassignment surgery are collaborating with and promoting a mental disorder. And it was October 2014 that I first saw this and brought it up. So not quite, 9 months, 8 months. Dr. Paul McHugh, the author of 6 books and at least 125 peer-reviewed medical articles, made his remarks last October in a recent commentary in the Wall Street Journal. That's where it was. He wrote it up in the Wall Street Journal. That's where we first saw it, where he explained that transgender surgery is not the solution for people who suffer a disorder of assumption, That is, the notion that their maleness or femaleness is different than what nature assigned to them biologically. Or even some people say, yeah, I have a female soul and a male body, or vice versa. He also reported on a new study showing that the suicide rate among transgendered people who did have reassignment surgery is 20 times higher than the suicide rate among non-transgender people. So, yeah, October of last year, and I thought this guy would be destroyed. I thought once in the Wall Street Journal, and from there it would be discovered and discussed in other places, and that this guy would then summarily be in the crosshairs. But what the strategy was obviously different. They just ignored him. Just leave it alone. The advocates just decided not to even go there, not to even elevate into the mainstream this particular viewpoint, maybe because of the fear of the credibility the guy would bring to it. But again, let me get back, since everything's politics in America today, and don't think that it isn't. Everything is politics. Democrat Party and the media see to that, folks. I mean, it's politics that's it's politics that is generating all the support in the media for this. It's politics that's generating all of the celebratory characteristics of this story. So then, in that case, you have to ask who benefits here and how. I now take you back to the little blurb I found at a conservative blog, conservative Republican blog. With the momentum from this announcement and affiliation, Kaitlyn Jenner has given the Republican Party something it desperately needs more of: street cred, an understanding sense of humanity, because Kaitlyn Jenner has come out as a Republican. So everybody is looking at this through the prism of politics, not through the prism of compassion and all that. That's what they tell you they're doing, but it's all political. Never mistake that. Okay, got to take a break. We'll be back with much more after this. Don't go. Okay, standby audio soundbite number 3. I want to take you back to April 27th on this program. I just want to demonstrate for you how, if you are a regular, habitual listener here, if you make an appointment to be here every day, you are guaranteed to be on the cutting edge of societal evolution. The gay community has pretty much peaked in terms of protest, anger, and agitation because they've succeeded. Gay marriage is happening. Young people seem to be totally in favor of it. If you look at pop culture television, you cannot watch a single TV show where there is not gay affection, gay sex, gay love. Well, it's common now. But they can't just go away because the agenda never gets completed. It always has to march on. So what has surfaced to take the place of anger and protest in the gay community? It's the transgender community. The transgender community is the gay community of 10 years ago. The transgenders, they've taken the place of gays who were discriminated against and made fun of and laughed at and so forth. So the transgenders are now occupying the position in the political spectrum where the militant homosexuals occupied 10 years ago. Well, that alone should tell you why it's a big story. This fits everything the media wants to do in terms of turning the culture upside down, redefining what normal is, getting revenge against the majority for all of these decades of discrimination and mockery and disapproval, and all these religious fanatics judging other people simply because of, quote, who they love, unquote. Bruce Jenner helps to unlock the rage and anger. And that was me back on April 27th of this year, nailing it, folks. I mean, none of that's arguable. Everything in that is right on the money. It's exactly what's happening. And don't forget the point. All of this is political. I'm not saying that Kaitlyn Jenner's political. I don't know. But everybody in the drive-by promoting this, approving of it, celebrating, it's all political because everything is. And the trick is they get away with making people think it isn't political. Millennials hate politics, and the left runs around and says the Republicans are the ones that do politics. Well, Republicans are the ones that never agree. Republicans are always the ones causing problems. Republicans are the ones that constantly partisan and bickering and argue. But we, the Democrats, we don't do politics. It's all politics. Everything is about the Democrat agenda. Last night, CNN Tonight, Don Lemon spoke with Christine Brennan, sports analyst, and talking about Kaitlyn Jenner and the cover of Vanity Fair. And Don Lemon said, when I grew up, Bruce Jenner was the male sex symbol. Now he's becoming a female sex symbol in today's issue.
Once again, sports is taking us to a place that we need to go as a nation to have a conversation. Whether it would be terrible things like Ray Rice and domestic violence, steroids, Lance Armstrong, other Olympians, baseball players, or a story like this. Sports makes it real. And here we are talking about it, but because he was a sports star, I think it makes it more real for people.
See how this works. See, we're doing a laudable thing. We are now talking about it, and that alone gives us a gold star. We are good people. We are courageous people. We are finally talking about it. What are we talking about? Well, what's the big deal? What are we talking? Of course we're talking about it. It's kind of curious. But no, we're talking about it because what this reveals, once again, is how discriminatory and mean-spirited the majority in this country has always been. We are talking about this because finally another group of discriminated against, ill-treated, mistreated people are finally able to come out and name their accusers and point to their accusers and shame them. That's what this is. It's just, folks, it constitutes another in an unending line of assaults on what you have always thought mainstream American culture, morality, whatever, to be. Anyway, here's Andrea in Houston. Andrea, you're up first. It's great to have you with us on the EIB network. Hello.
Hi, Rush.
Hi, Andrea. How are you?
I'd like to thank you first for keeping me sane in a very crazy world.
Well, I'm glad that I'm keeping you sane. I'm questioning my own day to day.
I do too. So last night I posted a question on Facebook. I said, if someone was born a male and ultimately wants to become a female or vice versa, and they don't have Jenner Kardashian money to pay for it, then what? Is the next step to make health insurance pay? Then what if someone is unhappy with the size of their nose, eyes, etc.? Will health insurance be forced to cover that too? Sadly, I did get a response saying that, yes,
well, now,
health insurance should pay for that.
What? Health insurance should pay for what?
For transgender surgery.
You think so?
I don't think so.
Oh, I thought you just said it. You did.
No. I said I didn't think so. I said, is that the next step if they can't afford it? Is that what this world is coming to?
Oh, well, it already has in San Francisco. And if you want to look at San Francisco as a leading indicator, city employees in San Francisco who want sex change operations, it is part of their health care package.
Oh, my.
Or it was. Now, it was, and I don't know if it survived. If there were people that opposed it, and it was up for election with a particular member of the Board of Supervisors or whatever they call them. I don't know whether it survived. For the longest time, though, sex change surgery, transgender operations were a health care benefit for city employees in San Francisco. That's they had a name, the addictomy procedure was one well-known procedure. But no, you're thinking on this totally understandable because it's discriminatory. Hey, look, I am a woman, says a guy. I'm a woman, and it's not fair, and I need surgery to become who I really am, and it's discriminatory because I can't afford it. Wait. Much of public policy is trending in that direction. So I can see why you would think that it would be possible at some point. The Daily Beast, I mean, Andrew, just to tell you, the Daily Beast has a story now that says essentially Obamacare now does cover sex change operations. It already covers it. And you know who's paying for that, don't you? You know who's paying for Obamacare is all the combined taxpayers. So the Daily Beast claims that it's already the law of the land. But yeah, there's a larger question. Well, I don't know if it's larger, but there's another question too. If one day, if you're born a man and you say you're a woman, that makes you a woman. Where does this stop? I don't know, folks. I think this is we're a dangerous slope here. I want to go back to the audio sound bites. One more from Christine Brennan. By the way, the ESPYs, the CNN version of the Academy Awards, Jenner's the award winner, the Courage Award. The Arthur Ashe Courage Award. Don Lemon speaking with sports analyst Christine Brennan about this whole episode. Lennon said, look, even though Caitlyn has transitioned from her former identity as Bruce Jenner, her first public appearance will be at a sports-related event, right?
Yes, the ESPY Awards, that she will be receiving the Arthur Ashe Courage Award, an honor that many have received, including Jim Valvano, Robin Roberts, Nelson Mandela, Michael Sam just last year. This really signifies a snapshot, I think, of our culture at this time. And whether these are people who fought cancer, fought inequality, whether it be Billie Jean King fighting for women's rights, Michael Sam fighting for the rights of the gay athlete, it takes us to this place, and it's a snapshot, I believe, of where we are as a country and sports as a huge part of our culture.
And I have to go back to the previous soundbite of hers. I'm not going to replay it, but she was following it with that comment. You heard, so once again, sports is taking us to a place we need to go as a nation to have a conversation. Whether it would be terrible things like Ray Rice and domestic violence, steroids, Lance Armstrong, other Olympians, baseball players, or a story like this, sports makes it real, and we need to have a conversation. What does that mean? You know, when Eric Holder's, we need to have a conversation about race. We need to have a conversation now about transgender people. The hidden meaning is that we need to stand up and rise up against this discriminatory, bigoted majority who has stigmatized all of these people and made them feel horrible. We need to have a conversation about these bigots. We need to have a conversation about this discrimination that's taking place by all of these Americans. That's what it means. It's as though there is this giant conspiracy to keep these people hidden. A giant conspiracy among the majority of America to keep these people, transgenders, whatever category you want to refer to it as. Keep them hidden, keep them small, deny them their humanity and all of that. So folks, it's just another way of mounting this onslaught against the majority. This is a direct frontal attack on what the United States has always been by a bunch of people who don't like it for whatever reasons. And there's all kinds of things rolled into this. There's an effort to redefine what normal is. Because if society has norms, well, not everybody's in them. And if you're not in the norms, then you are discriminated against, and you might be psychologically impacted by this in a negative way. You might be suicidal or sad, depressed, or whatever, and it's America's fault, it's society's fault for doing this to you because of these norms. These norms are discriminatory, and they're rooted in a false, phony morality, all of this. So all of this represents an attack on that. To the point now that these old norms, such as marriage, are now considered negative things or oddball things themselves.